Hello and welcome back to Hello Nigeria. It's time for us to discuss our top story. Now, sometime last week, we did make mention here that the court had ruled that the indigenous people of Biafra is a terrorist group. There have been several reactions to this. The latest being that the United States has come out to say that IPOB is not a terrorist group. We'll be looking at a lot of this from different angles and more importantly from the legal perspective. Now, sitting on this legal side of the show is Barrister EVANS, who is not a stranger to Hello Nigeria, joining us to critically analyze this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good day.
On this seat, we have the lawyers. On this seat, we have the laymen.
The laymen. We gladly accept that term.
Yes. Okay, so now let's talk about last week. We had reports that IPOB had been named a terrorist group.
Yes.
What's your take on this?
Yeah, the Federal High Court in Abuja,
yes,
upon the application of the Attorney General of the Federation, through a motion ex parte, okay, grant an order that IPOB is a terrorist organization. Now, if you look at it, before now, the federal government had erred when they used the military to clamp down and there was a clash attack or whatever you want to call it. And upon doing that, a lot of Nigerians voiced out. We were almost going on the street to say, why should this be? That by the law, Section 2.1, Section 3.1 of the Terrorism Prevention Act had already stated who and in what circumstance you can proscribe. And the military is not one of which. So that it was wrong. But what the federal government did was to quickly comply with law by mandating the Attorney General to go to court. And now, as it stands, okay, in the eyes of the law, the group is a terrorist group because there's a court order to that effect. You understand?
But IPOB lawyers are challenging.
Yes. The options open to IPOB now is one, to either accept the judgment, which they've refused, or bring a motion on notice to ask that the court lay the order aside or vacate the order or appeal it in the higher court. These are the three options.
Now, let's look at the genesis of all of this. There's been talks of devolution, restructuring, and in the past 1 year, IPOB, although they started their agitation a long time ago, but it's not been this loud. What would you say is responsible for this renewed vigor that we've seen?
Well, if you look at it, in the past, it's been MASSOB. Not too long ago, IPOB, because Nnamdi Kanu himself used to be the Chief Publicity Secretary of MASSOB.
The movement for this.
Perhaps it didn't have, it didn't have much, what do you call it, space to agitate. Maybe that was why he created this. And now you have it, the agitations are there, economic injustice, the Southeast, you know, you have 5 states there, which implies you have shortage in legislatures, the people in the National Assembly, which will adversely affect that. If that region must get anything, it has to lobby through other regions of this country to get.
But people would argue that population-wise and geographically, that if you take Oyo State, for example, you can fit in 3 southeastern states into Oyo State, so it's not necessarily
no, it is necessary because we have unconstitutionally balkanized Nigeria into different unconstitutional regions in our minds, and we have administrative output to that effect. So if you have those 6 regions, you have to give them justice because you went into
You have to be fair.
We approved it. Even though it's not in the Constitution, but we approve that administrative conduct. If you look at the Nigerian law school now, they have to build one each in the 6 geopolitical zone. You understand?
Yes.
For equity and justice. So what it implies is that you still have 5 states, they give them their states.
All right. Okay, now let's go back to the judgment and implications of this judgment. Now, for people who are watching out there, we know we've heard that the High Court has prescribed that it is a terrorist organization. What does this mean with regards to the activities of IPOB?
Well,
So if Nnamdi Kanu, for instance, before they do, if they're going to take on to a higher court, what is the implication of this in layman's terms?
First of all, the legal context, because I am surprised that the Attorney General will take an organization that is not registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission to court. Because in the case of Olasikomi and 6 others against the Anglican Diocese of Lagos State. The Supreme Court had this year, June, this year, that an organization that is not registered before the Corporate Affairs Commission cannot be sued. And
So there are precedents, even a recent judgment to that effect.
2017, you understand, you cannot sue it and it cannot be sued. Lord Denning said in UAC was Mark 4, that when a matter is void in law is a nullity, because you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. It will collapse.
So there's a possibility of this order thrown out of court.
Yeah, it's sub
if it
judice
goes
right
to
now. It's sub judice right now.
That means we can't really talk much about
yes,
it.
It's
right
sub
now.
judice because now iPod is in court. The other party, they are in court. Because now they are challenging this. So we cannot begin to preempt here.
But so
As a follow-up to what Ayo had asked
activities
earlier.
can't go on right now in relation to what Ayo said.
That
Yeah, that's what I want to
carry out
understand,
their
because for-
rallies or the activities as we speak right now.
Legally speaking, okay, the proscription means that this organization has been named this way, so it will not be proper for them to carry out any activity. It will not be proper because then it will mean that they have accepted the judgment and they are carrying out activity in that name. What we need to do is to look at what will be the outcome of the challenge,
In the court.
As a follow-up question to what Ayo had mentioned earlier, what's the implication on the ordinary everyday man who is also an avid supporter of the indigenous people of Biafra? Because there are people who tweet, who show their support. What is the
In the
implication
interim,
on that?
before
Yes,
we
in the
get to
interim.
judge
The implication is that they should keep up with the proceeding.
Okay.
They
But
should
can
follow
they
the
make,
proceeding.
so what I want to ask is, if they tweet about these things, if they carry out, because there's some people who are there who don't understand, when that's at the top level, interpretation when it cascades down, can they go out and do these things? Will they be arrested? Will they face the courts? You know, what would be the implication right now if you protest or you do anything that is IPOB related? Yes.
Before the proscription,
Yes.
what has been the case, upon protest, they were clamped down.
Okay, so they will be, but now it's legal. So I mean that can they be charged to court? What would be the implication?
They will have to wait, like I said, they should stay every action
Okay.
and follow the proceedings of the court. And the National Assembly also should carry out its function, because if you look at section 217 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the Constitution made a provision of how the president should use the army. As the National Assembly checking the president's excesses in using the army, the president have
oversight
not. Yes,
functions,
the National Assembly have not done anything as regards the regulation and lay down procedure as to how the president should use the army. You understand? And it's there in the Constitution until the National Assembly act on that. Okay, we may have further issues where the army might usurp insurrection and give it a name and tag people terrorists. So we have to follow law.
Now, let's look at the international implication of this. The United States and the EU has come out to say the IPOB is not a terrorist group, and the presidency says they remain, that's just their opinion. But we've seen the leader, maybe the presidency is acting, they're being proactive by checking it before it cascades out of hand, like the Boko Haram issue, by nipping it in the bud right now when they can. Because you have the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, on camera soliciting for arms openly, saying that if he's arrested, they should burn Nigeria down. When you make statements like that, that threaten the sovereignty and the unity of the country, don't you think you're inciting and it's some form of terrorism?
Yeah, if you make statements like that, that incites the people, that threatens the corporate existence of a country, you can at best be charged for treason, which is going through trial for. You understand? But because the content, the full content of what he has done so far and what the people of that region have done so far does not in any way point towards terrorism. And that's what the United States, that's what they are saying. Because these people, we have seen their activities. We have seen what they've done before now, okay? A leader making pronouncement and statement that threatens the corporate existence of a country is at best treason. And that is what you can charge him for, and that is what they've done. So I don't know where they came about this aspect of it, that they've gone to this part where they had to. But we'll watch because it's sub judice and we'll see what comes out of it.
I like that you've mentioned that. So right now we can't really say much about it, depending on what the outcome of this would be. But we'll look forward to having you again when the court has decided whether they're really a terrorist group or not. Thank you very much, Barrister Evans.
Thank you very much.
We're going on a quick break. When we return, Bimbo Awuyele will be joining us for sports.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.